2011. We've got an exciting schedule coming up the next few months. We've got our Divas of Surfing later this month. We've got our ever-popular night at the Duke Brewery in April, and then we've got a Surf Media Night coming up in May, as well as our regular exhibitions. I'd like to welcome you tonight and thank you for supporting Surf World, which, as you all know, is a community-based organisation, and every dollar through the door helps to keep this place open a bit longer. If you really want to support us, at the door there, the lovely lady Karen, who's doing a great job, is also selling our memberships. We have a special offer with our memberships at the moment, which also gives you discounts to all our functions. I'd also like to thank Alan Fenn, who's our regular music man who does it for love and done a great job this evening. And without further ado, I'll introduce you to Grant Newby. It's really Grant's event. Grant's been running the Fish Fry now for 5 years. He does a fantastic job. I hope the weather's kind to him tomorrow, and I'll hand over to Grant to run his panel tonight. So let's welcome Grant.
Thanks, Jack. I'd like to welcome you all here, and thanks for your support. And look, it's great to have this great facility to hold something like this, and it's very relevant. And yeah. You never know how many people are going to turn up, but thank you very much for your support. I'd like to introduce you to the, well, they can introduce themselves. Ryan from Santa Barbara. I think he's a bit stunned at how big Australia is. He landed in Sydney yesterday and he's been driving the whole time just to get here.
Did you get a kangaroo?
We saw a couple, and then we saw like 30, and then we saw much like
There's plenty of them across the road.
One dispense with this, it's not that many of us. Rich from San Diego. And then Jordan, who I've not met before, but from Victoria, Jordan. So we might kick off with Rich and tell us a few tales about his experiences with the fish. And Rich is synonymous with his design, the speed dialer, which has been copied and promoted around the world by lots of people, but he's the originator. And yeah, let Rich tell his story.
Thanks for that, Grant. So I guess we're doing age before beauty tonight. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about fish and how it's thought of largely as a San Diego design, regionally from that area, which is one way of certainly looking at it or saying it. But maybe more appropriately, especially, was it John? When you put the copy of the journal, maybe, yeah. This is just coming out, the most recent issue, and it has what I think is just a really nice article about Steve Liss and, of course, his innovation. Now, Steve had grown up, say, in South Africa. We might think of the fish as a South Africa design, which, would be consistent with, like, saying it's a San Diego design. But to be entirely representative, it's a design of an innovator, and that innovator is Steve Liss. And here we are going on year 5. And I've talked to Skip Fry about this, who, John, you know Skip quite well. And he'll tell you, Skip's very big on the fact that Steve Liss is the godfather of the fish design, is how he says it. And he's done a beautiful thing, and here we are all enjoying this design. And I like the way Grant has represented it in some of his introductions to the fish fry, and that it's a very versatile design. And I think any generation can vouch for them. Maybe one of the most versatile and fun boards you could ride. It's just an incredibly fun board. And we have an innovator to thank for that, not just the region of San Diego. That would be Steve Liss, the innovator of the fish. So it's not a matter so much of setting the record straight. I just think we would enjoy knowing that Stevie's the source. That's that inspiration is referred to and sort of written up in that article. So if you get a chance, maybe take a look. I know the Surfer Journal's not widely circulated down here, but I believe it's available.
And that's the very latest issue.
Yeah. So
Because they haven't arrived here yet. You probably get them before us.
Sean Scott's got it.
John Winship
I've
has
got
one.
mine, so it's not here yet.
So where I grew up just happened to be very much in that same area, neighborhood-wise, as well, Skip lived more out in the PB region, which isn't too far from where we are. And I was born in La Jolla there, and then the reef breaks is really what I had focused on, was surfing most of the time. We don't have any sand bottom points where we are in San Diego. It's sub-beach breaks and a pretty generous smattering of reefs. And this board, I believe, was probably born out of those reefs. And those reefs they're just sandstone reef formations. And I think you have a lot of regions that I've seen in Australia that are kind of similar to this, and you get sort of an affinity there with those kind of waves. And there's a bit of a parallel or continuity to one of your great Australian surfers. They both have the same nickname, Stevie and him, and they have a lot of shared traits or characteristics. They're both goofy foots. They're both incredibly determined and deep tube riders, and they have a sort of relenting, almost tenacious spirit with their relationship with the ocean, and that would be Wayne Lynch. And at home, we do kind of think of Stevie maybe in a similar respect that you think of maybe Wayne Lynch. He's a rugged individualist. He's definitely known to go on walkabout, disappeared into the Baja for like weeks on end, no vehicle. You're like, how's that? Unreal. But he's very much in tune with the cycles and forces of nature and those kind of things. And he's also moved by, I think, a lot of the same things that make Lynchy tick. I've not got as much of a relationship with Wayne as I do with Stephen, but a good one. And I've had a lot of nice moments and times with Wayne as well. And I do, even though they don't maybe know each other and overlap in a relationship, have the same sort of, energetically speaking, deep sense for their connection with the ocean and how profound that goes. And I think we have that also to thank for this innovation of fish, and how it can be so at first blush, because that board is still being built today very much the same way it was laid down in those early years. And a couple of other things I might sort of highlight. I feel it's the first, I don't want to say successful, but probably modern multi-fin board, and that it's still working. It didn't have to be modified, it didn't have to be rendered. There wasn't anything that took place with that board since its inception. It's still being ridden today the way it was formatted